Hello, and welcome, my friends, to the next video in the Create Better Content series, where I show you how to tap into your creativity so that you can stay consistent with your marketing and reach more customers. My name is Penny, and I'm going to be your guide through this content development process. I want to teach you how to create engaging content, remarkable content, amazing content, all of those things combined on your sales pages, your email sequences, and social media posts, all of those things that you use so that you can reach more qualified customers. And if you want to learn more about creativity and how this can help you develop your content marketing plans, I would love to see you hit that button below and subscribe to this channel. And below in the description box, you are going to see a whole bunch of links. One of the links that you're going to see is for the Content Calendar Blueprint program. This is an email-based training. It's a comprehensive guide that does more than just show you how to set up your content calendar. It actually teaches you how to develop the strategy for your content and to figure out the content that goes into the calendar that you're going to implement. Another link that you're going to see is so that you can join us in the Marketing Strategy Collective program. This is my group program that we get together on Patreon every single month. We are in a group online space on Patreon. That's what I'm trying to say. And we do monthly Zoom calls. You get monthly workbooks. You get all kinds of strategies to help you basically work on your marketing strategy in a group space, a group online space, so you're not having to do this by yourself. And you see the links below and you know what to do to learn more. Okay, so let's jump into today's video. We are still talking about the customer journey, the customer buyer's journey, and I want to talk about one specific piece of what the customer buyer's journey does for you. It's quite honestly the most, I'd say, overlooked. That's a good word for it. Overlooked pieces of content. It's what people should be posting, what business owners, what marketing managers should be posting for what they call cold audiences. You know, the people who don't know you, the people who are not familiar with your business. They don't know what you do, they don't know what you sell, and they don't even know, why should they even care? So this could be the reason why some of your social media posts aren't converting. This also could be the reason why your blog isn't getting traffic, or the last launch that you just tried to do didn't do so well. Because I don't know if it's always about your offer or the content of your messages. It could just be that your community just doesn't know you well enough to trust you with their time, trust you with their money, or trust you with their attention. So let's break this down today and let's get into this. Let me start with one place. The first place, which I'm sure your questions are going to start. What is a cold audience? What do I mean by that? A cold audience are people who are in search of a solution, who are in search of something that they're looking for answers for something that's challenging them, and they're online looking for stuff. They're looking for information, they're looking for value, they're looking for education, and they've come across your links, your posts, your blog posts, your website, whatever, and they've never heard of you. They've never heard of your business. They don't know what your offers are, what your products are. This is a cold audience. These are people who just landed on your website because of the search. They not following you on social media, so they've never liked a post, they've never commented, and they've not really opened your emails because they just landed on your site, so they probably haven't even downloaded that free lead magnet that you have to get on your list. So cold doesn't mean that they are uninterested in what you're selling. Cold means that they're just unfamiliar. They don't know what your business does and what your products and services do. So your content at this point, your job, your marketing plan at this point is to start creating the content that says, hey, I see you out there with that problem. I get what you're struggling with. And my business has something that's going to help you. And this is the important piece here with this type of content. It's not just about how you can introduce your business, but you're going to do it in a way that you're not going in for the hard sell. You're not, pushy. You're not being salesy. It's about understanding what they refer to as the awareness stage of the customer buyer's journey. So when we think about the customer buyer's journey, it's in 3 stages. There's the awareness, where people become aware of your business. There's the consideration, where they start to consider you as a solution. And then, of course, there's the decision, where they make the decision to actually make a purchase from your business. What we're talking about here with cold audiences is the basic foundation of the awareness stage. So when we talk about awareness stage type of content, what does this look like? This is the type of content that starts a conversation, that gets them curious, that gets them to start to take action and to learn more about what your business does. And I want to talk about what I refer to as the 3 best types of content that work really, really well in the awareness stage and work really super well when we are trying to connect with these cold audiences. The first type of content that you can use is something called educational content. This is the type of content that's more than just let me teach you what this statistics means. It becomes deeper than that. It becomes more of, I didn't know that that's what that did. I had no idea. It's that type of content. When you can help somebody understand what their problem is, when you can give them the words to describe what they're feeling, give them the language to actually define what this problem is that they're experiencing. This is what I mean by educational content. YouTube tutorials, 3 signs that this isn't working for you. You can do Instagram carousels, 5 mistakes that new business owners make. Blog posts give you an opportunity to go really in depth with this kind of educational content. And when you're doing this information, when you're creating your educational content, I want to make sure that you know when you're going in there that you want to use really simple language. Avoid all of the technical jargon. Avoid all of the industry speak. Talk to them about where they are, not where you are, because you already know that your business is the solution to their problem. I want you to talk to them using their words, their language, and that way it's going to come across more that you are having that conversation with them and you're not trying to sell to them. Okay, another type of content that's really good for the awareness is I want to say entertainment, but I don't want you to misconstrue what I mean by entertainment. When I'm referring to entertainment could be inspirational. It could be, something that's going to make them laugh. It's about sharing content that connects with your customers and connects them to you or your business. And it's very relatable to them. So maybe it's not so much entertaining. Maybe the word we want to use is relatable content. Let's think about, let's say if we were to create an Instagram reel. And the Instagram reel is talking about how you have to juggle what it's like to be a small business owner. I've got to do this content creation. I've got to do this client work. And this is what I do. So it's relatable content because there's a lot of people who could understand what it's like, trying to stay consistent with their content creation as well as building their business. That's relatable. And you speak from the place of what your business is doing, and how the solutions that you have found. This also becomes a little educational as well if we think of it from that place. You could do things like YouTube shorts. This is what my face looks like when somebody asks, do you just wing it with your marketing? Those kinds of things. It's those moments that we're connecting on that human level. We're not selling. We're not just flat out writing a blog post. This is how this works. These are the 5 steps. This happens, this happens, this happens, this. What we're trying to do with this type of content is we're trying to move these cold audiences to feel something. It's an emotional hook to get them to stick around. What does my face look like when I'm trying to wing it? All of these kinds of things. That Instagram reel where I'm talking about what it's like as a small business owner. Those are the things that people are going to relate to, and it's going to resonate, and they're going to feel something. They're going to either feel like, oh my God, that is so me, or oh my goodness, that's exactly what I've been trying to say. It's that type of content that I'm talking about. It's that emotional hook that's going to get them to stick around and take some action. Maybe go to your website, click on a link, download something. It's those types of what's the word I'm looking for? Those types of things that are going to resonate. I'm sorry if you hear the noise in the background. The lawn guys are outside, so I apologize for all that noise. But I'm just going to keep going here. So, another type of content that we use along the same lines of this kind of relatable content is something that's built in curiosity. We give them something that they need to know about. Think about, how we have a cliffhanger. Think about how we tease them with something, this mistake cost me 100 email subscribers this week. Or a YouTube video says, 5 things I wish I knew before I launched my first product. Those kinds of things where people want to know more about this content that you're talking about because maybe they've launched an offer and it didn't do so well. Maybe they're trying to build their email list and what the heck did you do to lose 100 subscribers in 1 week? I want to know. That's what I mean by that curiosity. It intrigues them and it encourages them to want to know more. They want to, you're kind of inviting them in. You're inviting them in and you're bringing them into this journey. So you're bringing them into this awareness of, yes, my business has been here, or I have been here personally as a business owner, or I have done this, or I have seen this, or my client has been with this, or I've talked to people who are doing this. These are the kind of things that build curiosity with people because they see themselves in these problems because that's what they're doing. They're online, they're looking for this information, they're looking for these opportunities to figure out what the solution is. And so these types of content that are curiosity driven, I guess is the best way I could describe this here, are the things that they need to know more about. It's the content, like I wish I knew these things before I launched. The mistakes that I made. Those are all the things that if we're launching something, if we're growing our email list, we want to know what these mistakes are so we don't make these mistakes. What are the things that we wish we knew so we could do these things when we get ready to launch? That's what I'm talking about. This is the type of awareness content that is going to really introduce your business and you to these people that are considered cold audiences who don't have any information about you. So if we're talking about it from that place, and we're talking about it from just the cold audiences and understanding what we need to get them to do, to get them to take action. What do we talk about? Excuse me, let me start that sentence over again. Let's talk about what not to do with these cold audiences. What not to do with them. And just let me just say here, if these content strategy tips are what you are looking for, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out all of the playlists because I do have very specific video episodes here about building content that actually converts. So take a look at that if you have not already subscribed to this channel. All right, let's get back into this. So let's talk about what not to do with your cold audiences. Because I think that there's a lot of small business owners, a lot of marketing managers that I work with, a lot of people get tripped up with this, because when they think about how they're going to share their content, they immediately go to the idea of how can I sell? How can we sell this? How can we, tell people about the launch? How can we tell people? How do we get people to the website? They're always thinking about it from that place of the goal of the sale. So I think that's one of the mistakes that people are making, especially when it comes to cold audiences, is they're jumping straight into this pitch. They're jumping straight into trying to sell things. And your cold audience isn't ready to buy yet. They just figured out who you are and what your business does. So this is not the place for them to read testimonials, thinking about the price breakdown on your program and the bonuses. This is the point where we are starting to introduce ourselves, and we're looking for that relatable content that resonates with them to get them more curious about our business and to want to learn more. Another mistake that I see are when people are sharing content that is only talking about themselves and their business and not what their business does for their customers. You can, you see posts about there's, hi, my name is, hi, I'm Penny, and I've been doing this for 25 years. That's great. That gives me, some reliability that you've been in business a long time. But what does that have to do with me? What does that have to do with me as the customer? What does that have to do with me as this cold audience people? So we want to talk about them. We want to talk about their pain points. We want to talk about their goal, the chaos, the challenges, the issues that they're dealing with. The awareness content is 100% in that realm, is right in that department. So when we're thinking about creating our content, it's not about yourself. It's not about your business. It's about how your business helps your customers. And another mistake that I want to bring in here too, and while I'm on these mistakes here, is overloading them with information. Sometimes I think that we take awareness and looking at cold audiences so quite literal. Like they don't know enough about their problem. They don't know enough about their challenge. So I'm going to go into every statistic, everything, every story, every valuable thing I can think of to describe where you are. Okay, I get that. And maybe like one little post could do that. But over and over and over and over and over again just turns into overload. So when we look at our content, and this is one of the things that's so incredible about a content calendar, I'm just going to kind of side note this for a minute while I'm talking about content. When we utilize a content calendar more than just a calendar with a whole bunch of little squares on it, and we're going to say today I'm going to post on Instagram, today I'm posting on Facebook, this day is on LinkedIn. If we look at our content calendar in the idea that it is a system, it's the whole process that we do with our content calendar, we can utilize our content calendar to actually see that we are overloading this kind of information out there. If we see that we've got 5 days in a row of Instagram posts where we're just nonstop, this is statistics, this is this, this is this, this is this, we can easily see by looking at our content calendar that we are overloading them with information. And so that way our content calendar, we can go, okay, maybe I'll just pull 3 of these back and move them into other weeks, because we want to have a good mix of all of our content, not just 100% pounding here, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm going to help, that kind of stuff. So if we think about it from that place, some type of awareness content, we want to do things like, obviously, the educational stuff where, talking about how we can help them. We want to do this entertaining, relatable content. We want to do curiosity. We want to basically rotate all of this type of content and not just pounding over and over and over again with, this overload of information. Things like you can do stories about how you found your first client, or your worst mistake that you made in your business, 4 signs that something isn't doing and what to do instead, why nobody's reacting to this, the number one reason this isn't happening, the secret to this, all of those types of pieces of content are the ones that you are looking for the awareness. Because remember, when let's say like the secret to XYZ, we're giving them the secret. What we're doing is we're giving them steps to do something, and that's going to create the curiosity. That's going to create the education. That's going to create the value for them. And so I want you to think about it from that place, and think about how the awareness of your business and how this information, when it's parsed out like this, separated into education, separated into this entertainment, relatable content, the curiosity driven, those types of content, when we can mix into this, that is when we start to tap into this cold audience, and they get the opportunity to now become familiar with our business, familiar with what our products are, familiar with what our services are, and how our business is going to help them. So I want you to think about your content this week. Think about these examples that I just shared. Is this something that you can move into, where you can plan? Let's see if you can plan at least one type of awareness post that you're going to share this week. Because here's the thing, my friend. If you really want to grow your reach, and you really want to reach more customers and eventually sell more, you've got to start building this foundation of this awareness content. You've got to start creating this type of awareness content. And remember, it's not about the sales. It's about letting them become aware of your business and how your business can help them. And this type of content, if you want to call it, cold audience content, it's not just the big fluff. It's not like, here's some 3 valuable tips. I want you to think about it and how it will all connect throughout the journey, because this content is like the first step in the journey. And the more you consistently show up with value, and you show up with your personality, and you show up with your business's solutions, the more likely you're going to find that these cold audiences are going to start to warm up to your business. And they're going to stick around a lot longer, and they're going to want to know more about your services, know more about your products, and they're going to become customers. So if you think about it from that place, and if you've been looking at your social media posts and they're not getting a lot of engagement, and your site's not getting traffic, and maybe you did have a launch that kind of struggled, maybe it's that you've been talking to a cold audience and they just don't know you well enough to trust you, because your content, if you've done right, can help them trust you with their time, trust you with their attention, and trust you with their money to become loyal customers. So thank you so much for joining me today on this creative journey. If you've enjoyed this content about content development, I hope you'll hit the share button, and let's keep this conversation going. And if you found this helpful, yes, please subscribe, because every single week I am going to be sharing these types of content with real conversations that I'm having with you about real strategies, and show you how to get real results with your marketing. And I'm telling you, if today's episode gave you like, oh my goodness, I just had an aha moment, and you're sitting there thinking, no wonder my content hasn't been landing, I want to personally invite you to take this even further, because creating content that connects strangers and turns them into super fans, it doesn't just happen by just like randomly posting stuff. You need a clear strategy, and one that meets your community where they are, not where you wish they were. And that's exactly what we do inside the Marketing Strategy Collective. It's my group program designed for small business owners and marketing managers who are ready to stop guessing and start building a content system that works for their business. It's for people who are ready to stop working in a solo bubble and really benefit from working in a collaborative space to get the help that you need with your content marketing efforts. The link is below. You know what to do to learn more. You are magnificent, my friend, and let me be the first to say, I'm proud of you. Until next time.